Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED. April the 1st is our date, 2017. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you. We're both real estate brokers with John L. Scott in Southern Oregon, and we get together with you once a week here on KMED. We'll talk about all sorts of real estate-related issues and topics, and, well, 8 years worth of it. And today is something new for us because, well, we're going to talk to the government affairs people. Joe Brett from the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, by the way, which is presenting today's show. And I admire guys like John Zupan and Jeremy Lever who are with us because they donate a lot of their time to study these issues, to go to those committee meetings and all that kind of thing with very busy schedules that everybody has. And it takes volunteers like that to make organizations work. And so, first of all, that's really good for both of you and for doing that and for coming here today. John Zupan is in the house, and John's well, you've been a real estate family for a long time, or the owner of Windermere. Nice to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I've been involved, I guess, I'll be 45 years in June.
45. Boy, you talk about seeing the ups and downs of real estate, I would say, you can describe that, right?
Well, yeah, we thought, normal cycles, we'll have a little slowdown here and there, but the last one pretty well knocked us.
Yeah, that's when Joe and I became brokers. Right at that time, we remember that 10 years ago.
2007, we got our license right at the end of the year.
Yeah,
right on
that's
time.
really good. Well, of course, you own an office, so you see the market. You've seen a lot of change in this business, but something stays the same, really, is that you got to watch out what the legislature or what rules try to be put upon this entire industry, correct?
That's right, and that's where Jeremy and myself, where we get involved here at the local level. I'm also involved at the state level to try and track it. I mean, the Oregon Association of Realtors, we are lobbyists, we are special interest, but our special interest isn't just for the good of the realtors. Our special interest is every property owner in the state, and we look out for all the different laws that would affect property ownership and their rights.
And it's amazing how many there are. Jeremy Lever is also here with us, and Jeremy is part of the Pulver and Lever Real Estate Company, and that's a name. I think when I first came to the Valley in '84, that name was around. So it's got to go back even further than that, Jeremy. True?
Yeah, it does, Pete. Thank you and Joe for having me. I've been involved with Pulver and Lever Real Estate Company about 11 years now, and my father before me and his father before him. So we were founded in 1954, and so I'm kind of third string carrying on the tradition. So.
Third generation real estate family. The Zupans, at least two.
Two
right?
of my sons taken over in Medford, so
three.
There we go.
Three generations right here of that. That's really cool. That's really neat to have you guys here. Well, before we talk about kind of legislative things, what's going on in Salem, I'm curious as to what you boys are seeing regarding our real estate market here. We're here in here we are almost April the 1st. So Jeremy, you do a lot. I know commercial real estate. Just tell us what's going on with that from your perspective right now.
Yeah, I handle strictly commercial real estate, and it has been extremely busy over the last 2 years. All sorts of movement in commercial property sales, leasing. The industrial market has seen a big boom lately, with businesses in general doing very well, and the marijuana industry has certainly crept into our valley in a big way, and we have seen a lot of leasing and sales.
Okay, so it's been
in that industry
too. How
too.
big of a driver has the marijuana industry been? Do you think to this?
Well,
to add to this, as you're talking about, listen to him, Joe. He's talking about busy in it wasn't that long ago when Frank Mania from Tycor's in here, and there was literally nothing going on in the commercial world. There was no refinancing, nothing. To this,
right? We have just seen a complete turnaround, and marijuana related has just created a ton of activity. I'd say mainly leasing activity.
Okay.
And very low vacancy rates in industrial buildings around the valley. Landlords do have to kind of tread carefully mortgages on their properties. There are some inherent issues with the illegality federally, on a federal level, but there are a lot of eager lessees out there for industrial space.
We've just seen this week, we've had some real positive news, and the unemployment rate is dropping, and people are getting jobs and finding jobs out there, and I bet that's reflected in the commercial activity.
Right. I think vacancy region-wide, whether it be retail, industrial, office, medical, is very low. I don't know the exact numbers, but the vacancy rates are very low. Big uptick in sales and leasing in the last 2+ years.
That is amazing to hear you say that. That really is, because we have certainly have heard about that.
Good
but
news.
to the extent that you're talking about it, that's pretty extensive. John Zupan, what about the housing market? Because you obviously see you've got a busy office.
Yeah.
You got to be doing something there, Windermere. What's happening there?
Well, Pete, as you and Joe well know, big demand out there, small supply right now, and it's going crazy with our 4 offices. We actually, the month of March, we saw a tick up in pending sales. We haven't got them closed yet, but it was one of the biggest Marches we've ever had, and it could have been even bigger if we'd had more product to sell. And so we just see a continuation of that, and I think right now is a real strong time if people are thinking about waiting until later in the year to put their property on the market. I would recommend they do it now.
What do you think has caused the slowdown, I guess, in listings, or why so few? Because this is the lowest listings right now, if I understand, make sure I got that right, since SOMLS began keeping stats.
Percentage-wise, it is, yes.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem, it's twofold. First of all, during the recession, we probably got 5 years behind in new construction.
That's true, absolutely.
And then we have more people moving into the state, and so new construction isn't catching up with the financing laws and so forth. A lot of the small builders that used to build 6-12 houses a year aren't around anymore, or can't get spec loans. You've got the big builders, and then of course the other thing is it's kind of a catch-22. People are afraid to put their property on the market because they're afraid they're not going to find something to buy if they sell.
Anything to sell. Well, what a crazy thing that is, isn't it? So I mean, you see this continuing here, or do you? I don't think it's going to change. I don't know.
It's we had quite a few more listings in March in our office. I haven't looked at the actual stats from MLS to see if that was overall the situation, but I think it's starting to change. I'm concerned that we don't have more construction going on, and there aren't a bunch of new developments starting, so that kind of concerns me.
See, that's really the issue, is that there's nothing to replace, there's nothing to add to this demand that's out there for housing.
There's a limited workforce to even keep up with the opportunities that are available to build right now.
That's the other problem. I mean, the sheetrockers, the plumbers, a lot of these people went out of their trades during the recession, and plus if you look at the builders and the people in the trades out there, they're starting to age out. And so I know Rogue Community College is working on putting together some classes and programs to hopefully take care of that.
Well, we asked Brad Bennington that last week about that very thing, that RCC, the voters said to them, we need skilled work. I mean, they said, we need skilled workers, and you're going to provide these programs, and we'll see. So far, he hadn't met with them, had he?
No, but
they hadn't met with them yet.
That's exactly the mission of our regional educational universities and even RCC. I mean, those are vital. It's vital that you match the needs of the jobs community with what you're offering for your kids and the opportunities.
I'm curious as to what's happening in the commercial side of things here. If it's as tight as it is there new construction going on there? Is there enough land, or do you see any movement going on? Because I know people.
Who's going to build a new commercial building?
Somebody's looking for 20,000 square foot here, big things here or there. What's that story?
Well, good question, Pete. We have seen a decent amount of commercial building here in the region on a larger scale. Northgate Shopping Center, for example. That's a good one where I think that they're on phase 2 that they're close to completing now, and they have phases 3 and 4 in the planning process right now.
But that's retail. See, that's just more retail stuff.
There has been a lot of retail construction on a larger scale like that.
What's the biggest demand need do you see? I mean, is it industrial space? Is it warehouse space? I mean, what are we lacking that's causing part of this also? Really,
I think the highest demand commercial real estate right now is industrial.
And industrial is defined by you as what?
By flex space, multi-tenant warehouse space, single tenant, larger distribution and manufacturing type buildings. It's a pretty wide swath of property that fits into the industrial sector. But really, I think we're at a point where vacancy is so low that there's going to have to be some more industrial construction here real soon to meet the demand.
So supply and demand, both of you. I'm curious. It's real. This is a supply and demand business, isn't it?
It is. I mean,
yeah.
we have our ups and downs, and we go through cycles. But fortunately, one thing about this cycle now, our prices aren't going out of sight like they could be. I mean, they're going up at a reasonable rate and so forth. But I was going to ask Jeremy a question. I understand from SoReady that we have a shortage of industrial zone land for big projects in the valley. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. From what I know, it's tough to find for say a high-tech manufacturer from California that wants to come and place a large manufacturing operation here. It is tough to find land that meets their needs in terms of entitlements and zoning and is ready to build. You hear a lot about shovel-ready sites,
right.
And I would say there is a lack of good shovel-ready sites in the valley and a need for more. And SoReady is one group that really advocates for that and does a good job of trying to make the process for a large company who might be interested in relocating somewhere to pick Southern Oregon.
And where is that land going to be? Are we talking about out
really
city area? Where is this supposed to be? Where do we have land to do?
Really, White City is kind of the natural
the only
area.
place,
you look at our valley, and we're pretty contained.
Yeah.
And sure, there are some potential pieces of land towards maybe Phoenix Talent area, and some periphery areas in Medford. But really, White City is kind of the natural industrial growth area.
They brought in a few hundred acres, I believe, in the UGB, which is the 20-year projection for the city of Medford, which I think would be swallowed up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that they might have shorted that in the process a little bit.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see.
Especially considering that we need those jobs, we need those companies, we need those opportunities, to grow our family wage job space if we can.
I would agree. Those are real big drivers of a healthy economy.
Mm-hmm. And I got to ask John here. If you when your agents come through, what price ranges are you seeing? Are you seeing it across the board, selling price ranges right now for housing, or is there certain areas that are moving more so than others?
Well, it's across the board, but of course the upper end is a lot slower.
Sure.
And unfortunately, if we get in probably 250 and below, the house is priced right. We're seeing multiple offers on almost every listing.
And it's still seeing that.
We're still seeing that, and it's kind of scary for the buyers to have to get in that situation.
Yeah, and we're going to continue to see that. I think the latest projection, we'll know March's figure, but in February, in that price range of $150,000 to $250,000, it was a 0.3 month supply. I mean, there's just nothing.
I would be surprised if it's over 45 days right now.
Yeah.
And that's agonizing to go through that with your buyers.
It is.
As they try and they give their best shot at everything they've got and come up just short and have to start all over again. But that's just the process right now. So we've got to tell people, don't get discouraged. We're going to find you that place. You're going to get that place. You just got to really stick with it.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoy hearing you guys talk about the market and what's out there. Commercial, see, it's prices go up because you demand and look, it wasn't that long ago when there was no activity, and now you're telling us, Jeremy, how busy it is, that there's simply no vacancies in lots of places, and the demand is there. That's good for jobs. That's good for the economy, I think, as well. And the same way with John, and we know about the housing market here. So those are all interesting and positive signs.
Business confidence is coming to the valley.
But part of the reason that Jeremy and John are here is that they're members of the Governmental Affairs Committee of the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, and thus they kind of have the inside stories of what's happening to the legislature or attempts in the legislature to affect real estate. And again, we talk about real estate. It's not just buying, selling, renting, investing. It's everything from recording, title companies, inspections. It's the whole gamut of things here. So just before we have a break coming up here, do you guys meet a lot about this? I mean, tell me how you do your deal with this.
Yeah, we I'd say on average meet once a month, maybe every other month, depending on the political activity and what's going on. But really it's John's on the Governmental Affairs Committee and we're both on the Legislative Committee with RVAR, and our goal is to keep a close eye on the legislation and really advocate for homeowners and home ownership and property ownership, and
Private property rights. Yep.
private property rights, and protect those rights, and really keep our membership informed on issues that might affect our industry.
Yeah,
as much as anything.
Yeah, one of the things I found is that realtors are much like teachers. They can organize themselves pretty darn quickly and can have an effect quickly on something. Isn't that true? I really see that, which is great. Okay, so John, so you guys do this, and you're in legislative session, and is there a lot of stuff? We got a break coming up here, but is there a lot of things out there that affect real estate, right? That are up there being proposed, right?
Yeah, we have quite a few bills that we're opposing, and a couple that we actually are trying to get through.
Hey, see, look, that's how it works.
They're trying to solve a $1.6 billion deficit,
All right.
partly through the real estate.
We're with Jeremy Lever and John Zupan on the Real Estate Show, talking about, the market, talking about legislation. We're coming right back to KMED right after this. The Real Estate Show rolls on KMED. April the 1st is our date. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the real estate guys here. Don't forget, you can check out any of our past shows at realestateshoworegon.com. We certainly invite you to do that. Lots of good shows there, so check them all out there at realestateshoworegon.com. Next week, we got a Market Watch show. The stats will be out. We'll kind of see what's going on around Southern Oregon, Jackson and Josephine County. I'm curious.
I've been
John's
encouraged.
saying it's having a good month. That's great to hear.
I'm seeing more new listings just on a regular basis come up in our daily stats that come out on the SOMLS. So that's good to see. They're trickling out there, and more and more sellers are taking the plunge.
Today on the Real Estate Show, Jeremy Lever from Pulver and Lever Real Estate, a commercial broker and member of the Legislative Affairs Committee of the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, is here, along with John Zupan, the owner and broker of Windermere Real Estate here in the Rogue Valley. 4 offices, is that right? You got 4 places.
That's correct.
You're a trooper, aren't you? For of those.
Yeah, when I started, we had a 7-person office in Ashland, and that was it.
Well, I was out at Arvar had a booth, at the Builders Association home show, and they had some old books prior to going online that were printed up. You have to. So you both. Well, Jeremy doesn't maybe, but you, John, certainly go back to those days.
Those were the books.
I don't know how you could find. I don't know how they found anything. That was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen.
5 hours a week, just keeping your books. These little plannels, as we called them, and you couldn't throw them away because they didn't print a new one if the pending fell, and you had to put it back in your book.
It was something to watch that anyway. Watch it. April the 12th, by the way, coming up. Is the Realtor Day at the Capitol. It's one of those days, where realtors have that ability, and a big event up there to talk about realtor issues. And so that's why Jeremy and John are with us here today to kind of bring us up to date on some of those things.
Should we have a Realtor Week at the Capitol? And we've got a few issues to work on.
Well, you don't
might be more appropriate.
But they give you like one day, don't they? And you get one like lunch with them, and you get one time every session. So anyway, tell us a little bit about what should we look for, fellas? What are you looking? What are you watching right now that we should all care about?
Well, there are some big ones this go around. There is a mortgage interest deduction is one of them. Now,
when you say mortgage interest deduction, now right now was a bill pending or something like that would eliminate the mortgage interest deduction on your state your state tax, correct?
Yeah, from the beginning of the income tax, there's always been a mortgage interest deduction. You could deduct your interest from your taxes, and the state was always tied to the feds. Well, now the state wants to separate from the feds, and depending on how much you make, that deduction keeps decreasing until it hits a point where you don't get it at all if you make too much. And I don't have what that exact number is because it's a really weird ratio they use.
Is it just mortgage interest, or is it all interest, even business interest, or is it just? Would you know what that is?
Well, it would mainly target second homes. Anything beyond your primary residence is kind of what they'd focus that on.
Okay, and what is ARVAR? What is OAR, the Oregon Association of Realtors? How do you respond? What do you say about this then?
Well, on mortgage interest deduction, we've got that. They're also trying to do the same thing with property tax deduction, so that you wouldn't be able to deduct your property taxes off your income tax, or your taxable income, I should say, which is really a tax on a tax. So RVAR, of course, we go up and we lobby against these, and or not RVAR, but OAR, and we sit down with the legislators and we try to get their ear and discuss what the concerns are and how it's going to affect the economy and how it's going to affect the consumer and the people. And like I say, the interest deduction, second home goes away completely, but it also affects first-time home buyers if depending on how much money you make. I shouldn't say first-time home buyers, all homeowners.
All homeowners,
right,
all homeowners
right.
do that. So they target then here the second home, a second home, right? Not your main residence for either of these, correct?
No, your main residence will be affected by these. And if for example, the mortgage or the property tax deduction, if as a joint filer you make over $50,000 a year,
Okay.
it starts going down until the more you make, the less you can deduct until you hit a point you have no deduction anymore.
What do you think of that, Joe? I mean, it's such an easy. See, I can see people sitting up there trying to come up with these ideas.
You know what I
and
think of it? I think they don't do nearly good enough job with the money that they have,
I
and
know.
this is just an easy grab to get more to solve their problems and to fix all the things that they think they can and should fix.
Well, Joe, the problem is they're putting all this on the back of property
Property
owners
owners,
instead of
which are
spreading it
already
across the
most
state.
overburdened people in the state of Oregon.
But Jeremy might want to mention, one of the talk about
Yeah.
the tax we have in this
Well-
state. I mean, this is the biggest biennium we've ever had as
Right.
far as revenue.
right.
Yeah, and that's right. And Oregon state and local government spends more per capita in the West and more than 39 other states. Basically, the number we've been given is $8,157 in government spending per citizen. So,
Yeah. Well, Representative Sal told us when he was with us that the normal increase in income in the state in the regular biennium was like $1.8 billion, which they're going to spend more, and they were still $1.6 billion short
Right.
over that 2-year
Right.
period. I mean, that's just an enormous amount of money, know. But you're right. But again, it's easy to tax real estate. This is what I always keep saying. It's an easy thing to tax. What else is on there that? So right now we're talking about home interest deduction and property tax elimination kinds of things for you to deduct on second homes, but it affects both. It affects both of it, right? Okay, all right.
And we're also concerned, and we understand that there's really a shortage of homes for renters and so forth, and it's a tough situation, but we feel some of the laws that they've put forth are actually even going to make it worse in the long run. For example, they're trying to do a no-cause eviction and push it out where a landlord has to give 90-day notice to a tenant. So if he wants to sell his property, he has to give the tenant 90-day notice. Not only that, he has to pay for the tenant to move, which I think they're figuring somewhere around 2 months rent plus the deposit.
So okay, so
it's,
if I
it's steep penalties, like to the tune of $3,000 to $6,000, I think, depending on the circumstance.
no eviction notice. Okay, I want to sell my house.
no cause.
I'm sorry, no cause eviction. I can't get that right. Okay, so I'm going to come in and I got to give you 90 days to do it, and I have to move you if I want to sell my property, and you're still there.
Right. And another part of this bill is we'll give local governments the right to put rent caps on all units.
So that was the thing. It just wasn't Portland. It was over the state.
Well,
And local,
Portland's-
you could put it on your own cap on it.
Yeah, Portland's already done it.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
But they're talking about statewide that any city can do it. And what this would cause is for investors to quit buying rental
Right.
units in the
Yeah.
state of Oregon, quit building rental units
Right.
in the state of Oregon, and all of a sudden we've got a bigger problem.
They have other options.
Well, that doesn't make too much sense either, especially when you have the issues such as affordable housing that we always talk about, but no one ever seems to come up with any kind of a solution to. And even though people are out there trying, we had Access on. One of the great partners of the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors is Access, and their first time, home buyer program that gives you money back for closing costs and those types of assistance. I mean, they're out there, but it affects all that. You're right; it's going to affect who's going to.
And you can only legislate so much of that. The market dynamics are really the driving factor in what's going to be produced and what's going to be sold and what's going to be available. And so you can work together with the industry, I think, but to try to legislate some of that kind of rubs people the wrong way and sometimes leads to unintended consequences or doesn't get you near where you thought you were going to end up with the legislation.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
mortgage interest. I'm just surprised. I'm not surprised at that. I mean, it's an easy thing to do, and we'll see how far it goes. What are the local reactions do you guys get from Senator DeBoer now, and Sal and some of these people from the Democrats, the D's or the R's. What do you hear?
Well, that's one reason why we're going to Salem to chat with them. I mean, I've been on the phone with Sal. I haven't talked to Alan recently. I'm pretty sure that he would be against it, but we're going to go to Salem, and hopefully there's going to be 1,000 realtors up there, and we will go around and everybody will talk to their representatives and legislators and tell them our concerns.
And our goal for Southern Oregon, RVAR, is to send 100 members. You know, the more the merrier, but we're shooting for 100 members to get up to Salem and join the cause.
Well, you got that's certainly a cause that a lot of people. I mean, I'm trying to think of what would be the reaction to that, just from some homeowners around, people. But you're right, it affects everything. It affects investing probably more in the rental market. It would affect as a ripple effect.
Not a lot of legislators are realtors or in the industry, so that influence, that communication is vital for some of the senators and representatives who might not know that much.
We like government control of things. Anyway, the Real Estate Show, we're with John Zupan and Jeremy Lever. We're coming right back to KMED right after this. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED. April the 1st is our date. Pete and Joe, the real estate guys here. We're back next week as we start with 5 weeks of April already. And it's a little bit spring-like almost. Have you noticed that? I've seen the sun a few times, actually.
Yeah, but we won't bank on that, but it's nice to see for sure.
It really is.
And we should put an April Fool's disclaimer out. We talk about these outrageous legislative actions that are OAR
it's not an April Fool's joke.
We're not fooling. This is factual information.
Yeah, that's actually true. Today here in the house, John Zupan, who's the owner of Windermere Van Vliet and Associates, is here in the house. He's also of the Oregon the Legislative Committee of RVAR and has been involved in, legislative politics and regarding real estate for some time. And Jeremy Lever from Pulver and Lever Real Estate. And I think Pulver and Lever's got to be the oldest name, don't you? I mean, in real estate, if you go back to 1954.
I don't know about the oldest, but we date back there.
Pretty moldy.
Longest name.
I think they're the oldest.
I would, because
Bob Van Vliet's 55, and that's our
that's
company.
Van Vliet.
Well, I'll tentatively claim it until told otherwise.
I'd claim that title. Absolutely. Go ahead. Anyway, we're talking about legislative issues that have been surfacing in the Oregon legislature. And before we get along here, there is a positive one, a really neat one that's out there that OAR, the Oregon Association of Realtors, supports, and that's for first-time home buyers, trying to get that going again. That's a positive thing. What's that one about?
Well, what it does is it allows first-time home buyer to put a savings account aside for the down payment for their house, and they can invest, I think, somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000 a year. I believe it is. I'm not sure of those exact numbers.
Yeah.
And they can, it's tax deductible. They don't have to pay taxes on that money. And if they use that money to buy their house, it won't be taxed when they pull it out. And so it works kind of like an IRA, only there's no tax at the end either.
Yep, it's $5,000, can't exceed $5,000 for single filers or $10,000 for joint filers.
Okay.
So it'd be a real boon for first-time home ownership.
Give yourself a little tax break because you put that money away, and then again, it's not taxed when you come out and put it to work to buy your home.
Yeah. So they call it a hybrid between a traditional IRA and a 529 college savings funds that Oregon has also. Yeah. So it's kind of in between that, somewhere in between there. So that sounds like a positive thing as well. One of the other things that I just wanted to mention is we've talked about appraisers here on our show, and our listeners certainly know the issue that is out there. That an appraiser has to go through to become an appraiser. It's just the craziest thing I've ever heard. I mean, no wonder we don't have any appraisers. Who would become an appraiser? What you got to do to become an appraiser? But anyway, there's some legislation to address that, isn't there? I didn't realize that, but that's good.
Well, there is, but it unfortunately some of the rules are at the federal level. So there's some legislation to try and help out here in Oregon, and then direct Oregon to send our congressman back to try and do something. But yeah, I mean, when you have to go to college for 4 years and then do a 2-year apprenticeship before you can appraise, it's pretty burdensome.
And nobody wants to. We had a fellow in here, remember, he'd been a long-time appraiser. We asked him, when was the last time you had an apprentice? I'll never forget his answer. 12 years ago. Anybody since then in that kind of thing. What's interesting about this legislation in the House Joint Resolutions, but they also are addressing, I don't know what that means, but they're addressing those two issues of cherry picking and price gouging. Remember, people can cherry pick through the list, and then if I want to slip you some more money, if you can't come now, I'll give you some more money. You can come quickly. Those kind of things. So I'm glad we'll see what that comes up with. I don't know.
Right. I think the goal is to just encourage more appraisers to join the industry, and I think that'd be a good thing. I mean, definitely.
They're commercial appraisers. Do you have the same kind of?
I don't think nearly to the degree that residential appraisers have it. But I think there is still a little bit of that going on in the commercial world.
And we're going to have more people moving here. We're going to have more homes to appraise and to build. So let's be a great career opportunity potentially.
Yeah. And we did have some of that big issue, but over in Klamath County, remember, they only have 4 appraisers for Klamath and Lake counties.
I was going to say, we're pretty fortunate here. We can normally get our appraisals done in 3 to 4 weeks, but there's some areas where it's taken 2 months.
Yeah, well, that's one of them there. And so, we hear about these things. So in many ways, we are fortunate. But again, the issue is still out there, and it will affect us at some point or another, right? I mean, I care whatever we do. Well, what else is going on, fellas, that you want to share with us regarding anything that we need to know, for viewers need to know?
Well, the biggest thing we're trying to promote right now is the Realtor at the Capitol Day.
Okay.
To again get that message out, and really I think that it's important for Southern Oregon brokers to consider attending, because we're the minority in Southern Oregon when you look at Oregon as a whole, and I think our goal is for our voices and our opinions to be considered and heard. So,
it's a good time. It is a good time to do it then, right? I mean,
it is. And the other thing, I think that we want to encourage the consumers, the property owners out there. Call your legislators. Tell them you have concerns about these bills. I mean, we're going to be fighting for you, but the more noise we get up there, the better chance we have of winning.
Well, in OAR, I have to say, is one of the best organized lobby groups, state, whatever they are up there. They're pretty good at it.
And again, looking out not just for the industry's interests, for the property owners, our clients' interests. It's a real win-win when we go to bat with our legislators.
Yeah. And by the way, Colin Mullane bought my dinner at the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors Food and Wine Classic.
Right.
Paid a lot of money for that, Joe. He did. We're going to have dinner.
Those are pretty popular.
Yeah, we did really. That was a great event for Arvar. I don't know if you guys were there or not.
Yeah, it was. And Tina was telling me today that she didn't have the exact number, but it was another record-earning event for the Home Foundation, which is what we work with Access, and with first-time home buyers again.
Excellent.
Yeah. And we had Access was here. There were 33 people who got a home buyer assistance last year under that program. And it's a terrific program at Access. So please check that out. So that's really great. That much money was raised. We'd love to hear those kind of things, because realtors give back.
John and Jeremy, thank you for your service and your work on the Legislative Committee and all of the other activities, especially you've been involved in, John, along the way. It really is essential to keep our industry moving forward, to keep our consumers educated, and to keep our best practices and protect and serve our clients.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah, our pleasure.
So before we get out of here, we're here, 2 months from now. Real estate's going to be crazy. We're going to have more listings, you think, John?
I think they're going to go up. I mean, we've still got this demand.
Balance.
I mean, it's definitely a seller's market right now, but. I think it'll balance out a little bit.
Well, it's not going to change until there are more listings. So we're going to continue to talk about that. And Jeremy Lever, the commercial, listening to you, it's just like it's like balls to the wall.
I don't see any dip in sight. I mean, eventually a dip is inevitable, right, with any real estate market. But so far so good, and the future is looking optimistic.
Open for business.
Yeah. It's so great to hear that is happening commercial-wise, because that means jobs and things like that. Thank you both for being here. We'll talk to you soon. That'll do it for the Real Estate Show here on April the 1st. For Pete and Joe, the Real Estate Guys, have a great week, everybody. God bless you all. We'll talk to you next Saturday right back here on KMED.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on KMED Radio, presented by the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, along with John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon and Bank 34 Mortgage. For guest contact information, download our free app, or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshowOregon.com. This show is produced by Table Rock Productions. Join us again next weekend for Southern Oregon's one and only Real Estate Show on KMED. And thank you for making the Real Estate Show part of your weekend.